Hi everyone, my name's Karen. I am a naturalist and a volunteer docent here at California State Park's Armstrong Redwoods State Natural Reserve. It's early May. This time of year we normally would have lots of school groups in the park learning about the redwood environment. But because of the quarantine, the parks are closed except for people who are able to walk or bike into the park. So today, via a slideshow, I am going to hike through the park and show you some of our natural native flowers that are blooming. The native plants are important to the ecosystem because they attract the native pollinators, butterflies, wasps, etc. And those will attract, of course, our native birds who will eat the insects and maintain a healthy ecosystem. So welcome to a virtual look at Armstrong today, and I hope to see you soon when the parks are open again. In the meantime, stay safe and enjoy the nature outside your front door. Hi again. You can probably tell from the background that I've climbed up out of the floor of the redwood forest to a high ridge above Armstrong Valley and beautiful West Sonoma County. This seems like a good place to mention a couple of things about our slideshow that are designed to challenge and educate you, especially if you're using this as part of a virtual classroom experience. At the end of our slideshow, we will have a slide with additional resources as well as contact information for the stewards of the Coastern Redwoods, so you can provide feedback on this and let us know what else we might be able to do to assist you. So as you can see from the background, the park, Armstrong Woods and adjoining Austin Creek State Park, are made up of a number of different ecosystems. So as we put each slide up, before we tell you the name of the flower, we're going to challenge you to stop and observe, notice, and ask yourself some questions to see what you think about what we're showing you. What is the structure of the flower? What is the color? What seems to be the habitat? Is it in deep shade? Is it out in sun? Is it by a stream, etc.? And then we'll tell you some fun flower facts about that particular native flower. And then we'll ask you if you know what it is. So that gives you a couple of different points in the slideshow where, if you'd like, you can pause the slideshow, ask yourself those questions, and see if you can name the flower before we name it for you. Okay, enjoy the show. See you later. Bye.
So all of the flowers on this tour are native to California, which means that they were established in what we now know as California prior to European contact. Some are also endemic, meaning that they do not appear naturally outside of California. The tour is a snapshot of 16 flowers that I happened to see on a single day in early May. There are many other native and non-native flowers in the park as well. On the final slide, you'll find some resources if you'd like to learn more about California native flowers or about Armstrong Woods and Austin Creek State Parks in beautiful West Sonoma County. Enjoy the show. Here we have California's state flower. Typically it's orange, but it can range from cream to nearly red. You might find it in places where it didn't pop up naturally because folks have successfully planted it in gardens across California and the country. Here's a fun fact. The genus name was given to this plant by a rather famous Estonian explorer and ship captain named Otto von Kotzebue. He visited Alaska and California in 1816, and he named the plant after his surgeon, naturalist, and entomologist on the ship, who is an Estonian of German descent named Johann Friedrich Gustav von Eschscholtz. Now, If you think that's hard to pronounce, the captain actually misspelled it by omitting a T, although I can't tell whether that made it harder or easier to pronounce. Do you know what it is? Right, it's the California poppy, Eschscholtzia californica. And I don't promise that all of my pronunciations of these plants are correct. Our next flower ranges in color from white to pink to nearly purple. Its leaves might remind you of clover, but it's not in the same family, although it is related to shamrock. It thrives in the cool, deep shade of the redwood forest, although it has a cousin with a yellow flower that thrives in sunnier areas. If the sun does peek through a gap in the trees, the leaves of this plant will droop down in order to prevent moisture loss, as you can see in the lower right-hand corner. Do you know what it is? It's redwood sorrel, Oxalis oregana. So this next flower is very tiny and delicate. It is often found growing near redwood sorrel. Typically, it has 5 to 7 leaves in a whorl or circle all on a single level, and its flowers range from white to pink. It likes to grow in moist, shady slopes with rich soil, especially in leaf litter. I find it so perfect and delicate that it looks like it was created by an artist, and it almost doesn't look real. Do you know what it is? It's Pacific starflower, Lysimachia latifolia. You might guess from the shape of this 5-petaled flower and its leaves that it's in the rose family. And it is, but which species? In Sonoma County, there are at least 8 native wild roses and at least 1 wild non-native rose. The redwood forest alone can host 3 different varieties of wild rose. So the answer to which one lies in the stem. Notice that this plant has lots of sharp prickles rather than thorns on its stem. Do you know what it is? It's a bald hip rose, Rosa gymnocarpa. This lovely purple flower is coming to the end of its blooming period, and it can be confused with a similar flower called elegant brodiea that is just beginning its blooming period. It's growing here in a sunny meadow, 1,000 feet above the floor of the redwood forest in an area of rapidly drying grasses. It's growing together with some other native purple flowers we'll see in a moment. Its common name comes from John Milton's poem, Paradise Lost, in which an angel went to the Garden of Eden to reveal Satan lurking there. Native Californians used a digging stick to harvest the plant's corms, which is a fleshy part of the underground stem, and cook and eat them. So the plant is sometimes called Indian potato. Do you know what it is? Ithuriel's spear, Triteleia laxa. Next to Ithuriel's spear is a member of the iris family. It typically blooms from March to May and goes dormant in the summer. And it appears all throughout California. Its common name refers to its color, although some people find that it is more purple than blue. Do you know what it is? It's blue-eyed grass, Sisyrinchium bellum. Nearby, I found another purplish blue flower, which has a very delicate stalk and tightly packed flowers at the end. This one can reproduce by seed as well as by the corms that can lie buried in the earth for years before erupting, usually following a fire. The corms were dug up and eaten by native Californians as well as by various mammals, including black bear. Do you know what it is? It's blue dix, also called wild hyacinth, Dichelostoma capitatum. So this pretty yellow flower has been moved from family to family because back in the day, plants were grouped together or separated based on phenotype, which is roughly what their structures looked like. But in recent decades, botanists have been analyzing plants' genetics, i.e. genotype, and a lot of plants have been reclassified. The same type of analyses are occurring with animals as well. There are several different species of this particular plant in the California native flora. Its flowers typically are a light orangish yellowish, but they can range from white to red. They attract lots of native insects and hummingbirds as pollinators. Its common name refers to the fact that its petals may appear to have a tiny face on them, and its leaves can be sort of gooey. Do you know what it is? It's sticky monkey flower, Diplacus aurantiacus. So we have changed ecosystems again. This minuscule little flower is growing in a damp, shady seep by a stream not far above the floor of the redwood forest. It may look like just a tiny, boring little white puff until you get up close and marvel at this delicate, upside-down structure. Its most familiar common name reflects both its habitat and its unusual structure. It has another common name that reflects the shape of its leaves. Do you know what it is? It's redwood inside-out flower, also known as redwood ivy, Vancouveria panipetala. So this wonderful flower is just coming into bloom. In fact, this is the first one I've seen this year. It loves to grow in shady, damp areas, often along hillsides near streams. It has thick, fleshy leaves and a single stalk that produces a bunch of small red or pink flowers. One of its common names is blue-bead lily because it will develop gorgeous indigo-colored fruits after it blooms. But the name blue-bead lily tends to be applied to several different plants that have similar fruits, so I'm going to stick with this plant's more common name. Do you know what it is? It's red clintonia, Clintonia andrewsiana. So the leaves of this next flower tell us that it is a member of the lily family. It is not only a native, but it is also endemic to Northern California, meaning that it will not occur naturally outside of Northern California. It favors scrubland and woodland habitat, dry slopes in oak woodland and chaparral habitats with cool, wet winters and hot, dry summers. So, not surprisingly, we find it on a dry slope above the redwood forest. Its bulbs are a traditional food of the Cachaya pomo of California. Do you know what it is? It's a golden fairy lantern, also called globe lily, globe tulip, Diogenes lantern, and Chinese lantern. Its genus name, Calicortus, means beautiful grass, and its species name, amabilis, means pleasing, likable, lovable, or lovely. So I'm actually thinking of changing my name to amabilis. What do you think? So this little flower is one of my absolute favorites. It's a sweet little white flower with 2 purple spots, some purple stripes, and a yellow center. It's a host plant for a native butterfly, the Pacific fritillary. The larva will feed on the plant, and then the butterflies will emerge and fly from June to July. So from the shape of the flower and the leaves, you can probably guess that it belongs to the same genus as several flowers that are usually purple, and the genus name is based on that purple color. Its eye-shaped purple markings give rise to its species name, which means eye-shaped, and which comes from the same root word as the name of the animal ocelot, which has eye-shaped spots. Do you know what it is? It's Western heart's-ease, also known as two-eyed violet, Viola ocellata. So the strikingly red petals of this flower are not actually petals, they are bracts, or modified leaves, and they surround tiny inconspicuous flowers that are tucked inside the bright red bracts. Its genus is named for the famed Spanish botanist Domingo Castillejo. It is especially adapted to pollination by hummingbirds, and it is also a host species for 2 types of checker spot butterflies. Intriguingly, it was used by Native Americans both as a love potion and a poison. Do you know what it is? It's Indian paintbrush, Castilleja affinis. So this pretty little yellow flower is in the aster family, which includes quite a few native and non-native flowers, including dandelions, chicory, ragweed, and arnica. Its common name tells us that it likes to grow in woodlands and forests. You might find it flowering as early as late March and as late as early August. And you might find it from sea level all the way up to about 4,000 feet elevation. Do you know what it is? It's a woodland madia, Anisocarpus medioides. So here we have another fleshy-leaved flower that loves shady, wet seeps and stream beds. This one can be very tricky to distinguish from a couple of similar plants with similar names. So first, check to see whether there are leaves growing on the same end of the stalk as the flowers. Then look more carefully at the flowers. Do they look like tiny stars, like tiny bells, or like a tiny crown of feathers, which is what this one is? Do you know what it is? It's feathery false lily of the valley, Myanthemum rachemosum. The one that has little stars on it is a false Solomon seal, also called star-flowered false Solomon seal. The one that has bell-shaped flowers is an actual lily of the valley. And the one that has sort of elongated bells with leaves growing on the same part of the stalk as the flowers is actual Solomon's seal. And last but not least, this is the perfect flower to end our tour. It's a pinkish purplish flower. It's a member of the Clarkia genus. That genus has more than 40 species as well as many subspecies, most of which are native to Western North America. This particular one hosts butterflies and moths, including 3 species of sphinx moth, as well as bees. And it's a great way to end our tour because its common name tells us what time of year we expect to see it in bloom. Do you know what it is? It is called Farewell to Spring, Clarkia amoena. When we see it in bloom, we know summer is on the way. So we hope you've enjoyed this little tour of some Armstrong Redwoods State Natural Reserve spring native wildflowers. On our final slide, you can find some resources to learn more about the parks and California native flowers. And I want to thank Mike Roa and Candace Gilmore, who gave me feedback on the text. Hope to see you all soon in the park. In the meantime, stay well. Bye.